welcome to Coffee with Mom and Dad. My name's Todd. This is my wife, Valerie.
Hello.
We're just two average parents, just conquering issues, talking about subjects that you want to hear. We're also talking about subjects that we just want to talk about. So today I want to talk a little bit about the purpose of electing officials. And, I've been watching these little tidbits that have been coming up about Donald Trump and Ted Cruz and Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton and this other guy. He's almost a no-name because he's not even making a dent. He's like a BB hitting a freight train. But I've been watching all this stuff, and I've been thinking about the purpose of actually electing officials and stuff like that. Oftentimes we look at people who are successful in life or appear to be our idea of successful, and we think, well, if I elect that guy, he'll make me successful. Well, not really. If that guy's way of getting or becoming successful was by making other people unsuccessful, I don't even know if that's really good English, or if it was by trampling all over other people, well, then he's not going to make you successful. Matter of fact, it might be a little bit damaging to have him. But, that being said, it's important that we understand, the purpose and the reason that we have elected officials. In the Bible, Jesus talks about leaders and ministers, and he talks about those who are servants. And he says to have those that serve lead. That's why as Americans we pick servant leaders. The person you elect is to be a servant, not somebody who is going to, in a sense, drag you around and dictate.
Bully you through it.
Yeah, or bully, or dictate what you're supposed to do, but somebody who is going to be a servant and allow America to thrive and grow as a nation. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Sounds pretty good.
Sounds pretty good. You gotta understand.
Big political person.
She has no idea of what we're talking about half the time before we even start.
He likes to surprise me.
So I surprise her just to see what we're going to talk about. But think about it. I saw a clip the other day. This is no.
Spending a market on here too. You'd be like facing the nations, man.
Yeah, well,
Was it Face the Nation?
I don't.
That's when we were kids.
I don't know.
Face the Nation.
But I watch these clips about these guys going after each other and talking about each other and some of the silly stuff that's been going on, especially in the Republican campaign right now. Republicans were doing real good when when things were real strong and at the beginning of this thing, but now they're just kind of making baboons out of themselves, and it's kind of crazy. But I saw a skit the other day. I know you are, but what am I? Or he started it. It's that's kind of the tactic of somebody on the playground when they beat somebody up. Well, he started it. Instead of just taking the higher ground and doing right.
I have noticed that they've been making such a big deal out of Donald Trump that nobody's paying attention to the fact that we're being overrun by communists. I'm just like, all right, you might want to pay attention to the communists over here.
Yeah, you got the
secret communists, you got the open communists. You're not paying attention. Come on, America.
Democratic communists and the lying communists, but
yes.
You got all this stuff going on, and we're so enamored, or I guess that's the word of the week. I think enamored. So enamored with Donald Trump and the idea that he would run for the White House, that we're not realizing that we're being taken over by socialists, and it's kind of crazy. But the purpose of electing officials is to find somebody who's served, and to find somebody who has a desire to serve, and that we would think is going to be a good servant because they've served. Qualification of somebody who who is going to be a good servant is not necessarily always how they balance their own checkbook, but more along the lines of how they balance somebody else's. You know,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily about how they dress themselves, but how they've helped other people. You know, and I think one of the things that we're getting away from is the idea that, you know, has this person really helped other people? You know, and has this person really stood up for the values that we believe? You know, one could say, well, you know, I know Donnie. He's helped a lot of people get a job, and I suppose when he went bankrupt, they all had good work, but you know, you could just as easily say, well, you know, Ted helped a lot of the unborn by, you know, defunding Planned Parenthood or you know, doing stuff like that, or you know what I'm saying, leading the charge and all that, and you know.
Yeah, I heard a limo driver talk about how wonderful Capone was, and Capone had his family in, a black man, and how he was so kind to him and his wife and his children and all that. But that doesn't make Capone a good guy.
Well, it reminds me of Stalin with the chicken. You ever hear that story?
Oh, yes.
Where Stalin, you know, Stalin had this chicken, and he was eating dinner with somebody. He had this chicken,
Oh.
and he started plucking feathers off of this chicken. He plucked all the feathers off of the chicken, and this chicken started cozying up to him real close. As the more feathers he took off the chicken.
Yeah, somebody asked him, how do you control the people?
Yep.
And that's what he did. He said, bring me a chicken.
Yep.
He started plucking it.
Plucking the feathers off the chicken. The
While
chicken.
he was alive.
Yeah. The chicken decided that it was going to cozy up to him because that's where warmth was. You know, and we got to be careful. We got to be careful as Americans that we choose to elect somebody who has a history of service and real service, not a history of serving self. You know, not a history of you know, serving self for their own political gain. You know. And we see this in our political arena right now. We have groups of people or people that have taken advantage of others, you know, have a history of that, you know, and we just need to be careful. You know, look at Jesus' example when Jesus decided he was going to feed the 5,000. You know, he fed the 5,000. They wanted to make him king. And he said, no, that's not my purpose right now.
Right.
My purpose is to serve. My purpose is to bring glory to God, not to necessarily be your king right now. You know, that's for later.
Yeah.
But so we need to do that, you know. And you know, but some of this stuff that they've been showing on these guys is hilarious. You know, it's really hilarious.
No, I thought it was very interesting that man had made that point, that what Trump had said was the words of a 5-year-old, because I've been hearing this for a while, because I've been thinking we've turned into a nation of 5-year-olds. Really?
Yeah.
I mean, how often do we hear? But that's what I like, and that makes me feel bad, and you're just being mean, and you know, you can tell somebody. I mean, really, how would you feel if you're standing on the side of the road and there's this mom looking at a little kid playing in the street? And you're like, hey, I want to get him out of the street. She goes, oh, he's fine. He's happy. And you're like, the cars are going to hit him. Well, you know, I don't want to hurt his feelings. I don't want to hurt his self-esteem. It makes him happy being there. You know, I mean, who am I to judge? Who am I to say it's wrong? You're like, lady, get your kid out of the street. Are you crazy? And you understand that either this woman does not care about her child, or she doesn't understand the gravity of the situation. And usually we just... That seems, I talk to people all the time where they don't seem to get what is going to happen if they continue down this path, or if our nation continues down this path, or they don't care. And you know, earlier we talked about, another day we talked about social media, and we are so I remember when I started looking at Pinterest. Oh man, you can get so lost in there, and it didn't take me long to just start, looking at all this stuff and realizing how easy it'd be to fill your life with so many things that really aren't that important. And it reminded me of, in the Old Testament when God would talk about judging Israel and talk about the women and the vanity. And how they laid about on couches and pampered themselves and just did all this stuff that made them feel good, and yet they were, for all practical purposes, completely useless. They didn't care about anybody but themselves. And because of that, there was just, the whole country was just laden with sin. I mean, women have a great deal of influence in that.
Hey, yeah, but that's the thing is, just remember, when we go to vote, let's look at the history of some of these guys and what they've done.
Yes.
And look at their history, what they've done for the people, and how they've chosen to serve. Elect a servant.
Yes.
Don't elect a dictator. Amen.
And send us
And
coffee.
yeah.
Send us coffee.
And
like and share the channel.
yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, like and share the channel and send us coffee, and I guess that's a wrap.
Subscribe.
That's it.
All that.